guys, Josh from SoccerReviewsForYou.com, bringing you a video today to share my thoughts on the newly unveiled Nike Magista. Now, one question that I want to answer right off the bat is, when am I getting a pair? Because you guys have already asked this question plenty of times. The answer to that question is kind of up in the air. I don't know the answer. When the press releases first went live, we saw a pre-order date was supposed to be somewhere late in April, with a ship date where the shoes would actually be in stock somewhere around late May. So obviously a couple months away from right now. Since then, those dates have been removed, so Nike has obviously decided that they're not going to stick to any specific date, which leads me to believe that we're still a couple months away from getting a pair of Magistas, for anybody to be able to get a pair of Magistas other than, of course, the pros. So as far as when I'm going to get a pair, it's kind of up in the air, but it does look like we're a few more months away before these are available at a retail level, or at least available to the public, I should say. Another thing is that this video is strictly about the Nike Magista. I am not going to be talking about the Adidas Prime Fit FS in this video at all. If you guys would like to hear my thoughts, and I do have some things to share regarding that boot, leave a comment down below. Let me know if you guys would be interested in hearing my thoughts on that as well. Also, I want you guys to leave a comment down below. Let me know what your thoughts are on the brand new Nike Magista. It's definitely very out there as far as design goes, and I'm curious to hear what the general consensus is amongst the public or the boot enthusiasts, which is of course you guys. So leave your comments down below and let's get right into the video. There are two new technologies that Nike is touting as revolutionary with the Nike Magista. The first of which is, of course, the Flyknit construction of the upper, and the second new feature, and arguably the most interesting, is the mid-cut dynamic fit system of the shoe itself. Now, for those of you guys that have seen pictures, and I'm sure that's most of you, you'll notice that this shoe is not cut below the ankle. Instead, there is a sock-like enclosure that not only wraps around your ankles, but goes slightly above it. So it is essentially a mid-cut soccer shoe, something that we really have never seen before, and something that does strike me as revolutionary. Now, when I say that, another thing that comes to mind is this something that's going to stick in the soccer cleat market? Is this going to become such a popular thing that Nike is not only going to continue producing it, but they're going to implement it in their other lines, and are other companies going to be forced to do the same due to its popularity? Is it going to actually have performance benefits? I'm not so sure about that. I'm not really worried about the performance. I'm more so concerned about how it's actually going to feel, but not concerned in a way that I think it's going to feel bad. I actually think it's going to feel really good. For those of you that are worried about it being too bulky or taking away from your touch on the ball, I wouldn't be, honestly. The dynamic fit enclosure is not something that Nike hasn't done before. We have seen it on other shoes, most recently on the Nike Kobe 9 Elite, which is, of course, Kobe Bryant's most recent signature basketball shoe. I'm sure a lot of you guys are familiar with that. Features, again, a very similar, very high sock-like enclosure, and it's not something that is necessarily restrictive, but something that more or less gives the impression of actual support, even though you're not really getting too much from the shoe itself. It will have a nice compressed feel against your ankle. It's not going to create any extra bulk, and like I said, it's going to have that impression of support, when in reality all you're getting is that sensation of your ankle being wrapped when there really isn't anything structurally that's going to make for a more supportive feel, but that placebo effect definitely plays a part, and you may have that sensation of having more support than what's actually there, hopefully giving you better confidence to cut a little bit harder, which in turn leads to better performance. Of course, this is all in theory, not necessarily a reality type of thing, but definitely a very interesting concept, and like I said, I'm very interested to see if this concept is going to stick not only to the Nike Magista line, but to the soccer cleat market in general. Is this something that's going to catch on? I guess leave your comments down below. What do you think of the mid-cut design for the Nike Magista? Is it going too far? Is it something that you're excited about? Do you like how it looks? Do you dislike how it looks? And in terms of how it looks, it's definitely visually striking, but what I'm kind of curious to see is, once the professionals start wearing this, what's FIFA going to do about the Nike Magista? If you guys remember when the True Socks got really popular amongst professional players and they were only available in white, FIFA started outlawing True Socks because you had to have a sock that was one color all the way down, even at your ankle, which is where a lot of professional players were cutting the bottoms off their sock, and then they would tape the True Socks on the bottom, and you'd have a little bit of white around your ankle because of this method of using them in game. So what they did is they made it a rule that the bottom of your sock has to match the top of your sock, and if you're going to put any tape on your socks, that tape also has to match the color. So you have to have one color all the way through, just like everybody else out there on the field. And what really struck me as interesting is if you saw the press pictures, then you saw that picture of Iniesta wearing it with his full Barcelona kit in blue and yellow, blue and red, with the bright yellow Nike Magista ankle covering on the socks itself. It's a very color clashing combination. And again, is this something that FIFA is going to outlaw once the professional players start wearing the shoe? I'm not sure if this is something that Nike has already kind of concerned themselves with, and I'm not sure if they got an okay from the league already, but it would be very, very interesting to see if this shoe gets banned or not, and if pros are going to have to modify the collar on the Nike Magista in order to wear it in game. Another thing they have to take into consideration is that pros, like I mentioned in a video I just recently made, don't necessarily have to wear what you're buying in the store. So are the professional players wearing the Nike Magista going to have the high mid-cut collar on their shoe, or are they going to have a modified low-cut version? That's another thing that I'm very, very curious about. When it comes to the Flyknit aspect of the shoe, I have to say that I'm pretty confident that Nike is going to put out a product that not only performs well, but is also very, very comfortable. Unlike Adidas's Primeknit material, and this is not a knock on Adidas in any way at all, Nike has been constantly evolving their Flyknit technology. We saw the original Flyknit Racer and Flyknit trainers, and since then we've seen plenty of different iterations of Flyknit technology on a variety of different shoes. And if you look at the original Flyknit products versus the newest and latest Flyknit products, there is a noticeable evolution as far as the quality goes and the overall complexity of the patterns in the uppers themselves. I think Nike has really gotten to the point where they truly can make any kind of pattern within their Flyknit base of materials. And I think one shoe that really is a great example of how good the Magista could possibly be is the Nike Free Flyknit Runner. This is a very tight fitting shoe. It has that barefoot feel. It moves very naturally with your foot. It's extremely comfortable. It's stretchy in the right places. It's supportive in the right places. It's very, very thin. And when you put this shoe on, it reminds me very much of a soccer cleat and how good Flyknit technology could actually be on a soccer cleat sole plate. And I'm sure a lot of you guys have tried this shoe on at this point in time. It's been out for a little while. But again, this is a great example of how far Flyknit technology has come and what to look forward to from the Nike Magista. So performance-wise, I definitely think it's going to be there. It's a single layer, or not a single layer, it's several different layers of woven material that make up for a very thin construction, I guess, once everything is said and done. So it's going to have what I predict to be at least a relatively thin barefoot style of feel on the ball, but at the same time very different from what we're getting from the Hypervenom Phantom line as well as the Nike Mercurial Vapor line. It's just going to be a unique experience, and there's really no other way to describe it without actually having worn it myself, and I haven't done that so far. So again, I don't have too much insight as to how it is actually going to perform. We do see some reinforcement going along the outside edge where the sole plate meets the upper in the form of a polyurethane kind of Nike skin. That's what they're calling it anyways. Just a little kind of coat going around the outside. It's kind of molded right into the Flyknit material, and that's not only going to enhance the durability, it's also going to protect that bottom part of the shoe that is obviously going to take the most amount of abuse. Again, Flyknit is a concern for durability, I know, for a lot of people, but I really do have confidence in Nike that they have made an extremely rugged version of Flyknit for the Magista, and like I said, I'm not too worried about durability at this point in time. Again, I think that if you compare the Nike Magista to something like the Adidas Samba Primeknit, you can see that there is a huge jump in complexity as far as the design goes between the Samba Primeknit and the Magista. And like I said, I think that Nike is just further along than Adidas. They both have similar technologies in Flyknit and Primeknit, but Nike has been constantly evolving their Flyknit material, and because they've put out so many different shoes, I think they're at the point where they really understand how to utilize this in the best way possible, put out designs that utilize and really make this a compelling option and something that is not only going to feel great on feet, but it's also going to perform very, very well. And for that reason, I'm very excited to see Nike's first shoe with a Flyknit upper. One thing that was not mentioned in any of the press releases and probably won't be mentioned for a little while is the actual price of the Nike Magista. Now, Nike's current top-end models range in price from $180 US to $240 at a retail level, if you're paying full price, of course. I would expect the Nike Magista to be above that $240 price point. I'm thinking this is going to be anywhere from $250 to $350, and I wanted you guys to leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think would be a reasonable price for this shoe. Like Nike has mentioned in their press releases, this is a shoe that is 4 years in development and is very, very new. So I do think that the price will definitely reflect on that. And not to say that I think if Nike puts out a $400 shoe that nobody's going to buy it. It's going to sell either way. I just want to know, based on what you guys think, what is a reasonable price for the Nike Magista, considering what Nike has told us. It utilizes all of their latest technologies and is definitely a very, very interesting shoe, but to what point can they charge until it just becomes completely unreasonable? Other than the shoe being made from Flyknit and having a mid-cut, there are some other interesting aspects worth talking about with the Nike Magista. The first of which is, of course, that this is the first shoe in the last couple of years to re-implement Flywire technology from Nike. Last time we saw it was on the Mercurial Vapor Superfly 3. We haven't seen it since, but now it's back on the Nike Magista, running through the midfoot on both the lateral and medial sides of the shoe. Now, Flywire, in combination with Flyknit, as we see it on this particular shoe, is not uncommon. We've seen Flywire implemented on pretty much all of Nike's Flyknit models across their other sports, as far as running shoes and basketball shoes go. So again, it's not too much of a surprise that we're seeing it on the Nike Magista, and it's really an interesting technology and something that I think is great for a soccer shoe type of implementation. It works directly with the lacing system. You can see that instead of lace holes, it's actually those strands of Flywire material. So when you actually pull the laces tight, those strands of Flywire act as a suspension bridge, kind of hugging your foot really tightly and providing that nice support on both the lateral and medial sides. And what I like about the combination of Flywire and Flyknit is that Flyknit really seems to do a good job of working with the Flywire and dispersing that pressure a little bit more evenly across the foot, still making for a very supportive feel, but also increasing the overall comfort level. Along with the introduction of Flywire technology, we also see a brand new sole plate and stud pattern introduced on the Nike Magista. Now, when I say brand new, to be fair, the stud pattern is very similar to what we have right now from the Nike Tiempo Legend. It's nothing that is remarkable as far as design goes, but definitely does look interesting, and I definitely can tell you that it probably will perform pretty well just based on how similar it is to the Legend 5 stud pattern, which is already very, very good when it comes to overall performance. The sole plate features a construction that is similar to what we see right now on the Nike Hypervenom Phantom, a combination of P-backs and glass nylon, so you can bet that it will be very, very lightweight and will also have a nice responsive feel to it. You're also going to notice a rounded off heel counter that looks a lot like the Mercurial Vapor 4 SL heel counter in terms of shape, something that I'm personally very, very excited about. Another thing that struck me as interesting is what kind of padding there's going to be on the inside of the shoe around the heel and ankle collar area. Is there going to be a shoe within the shoe, and then you're going to have a Flyknit kind of shroud running up there covering your ankles? Or is it just going to be straight Flyknit with nothing else kind of on the inside of the shoe? Again, something that really wasn't covered in the press release, and we really won't know until people have these shoes in their hands. The other thing that I wanted to mention is, of course, yes, the shoe has ACC. Again, something that isn't too much of a surprise for me, but I'm kind of curious to see how that's going to impact the feel of the Flyknit synthetic, and of course whether or not it's going to protect it in any way at all as far as maintaining its color. When you have a light volt yellow, more or less polyester woven material, is it going to stain very easily, or is that ACC going to protect the material and allow it to not necessarily perform better, but maintain its color a little bit better? Again, only time will tell. It's tough to say until people actually have these shoes and are wearing them. Alright guys, that's it for my thoughts on the Nike Magista. Obviously there are a lot of questions that remain unanswered and will remain unanswered over the next couple of months as we anticipate the release. But what I can say is, yes, I'm excited about the shoe, and do I think it's revolutionary? How could you not? Nike has really thrown in every technology that they possibly could into this shoe, and done so in an option that looks very, very attractive from a performance standpoint, and very interesting from a performance standpoint, and that it is a mid-cut shoe, and it does utilize Flyknit technology, something that we've really never seen before on a soccer cleat. So very excited about this shoe. Can't wait for it to release. Leave your comments down below though, guys. What do you think of how this shoe looks? What do you think of how it's going to perform? What do you think of the mid-cut design? What do you think of the Flyknit technology? There are so many questions to answer. Answer them all down below in the comments. If you enjoyed today's video, be sure to support it with a like. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all of my social media information down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video. And as always, thanks for watching.